Meme, can you play with him for a while? His battery died. Isn't this too familiar to all of us? Parang lahat ng tao, di ba, yung si mommy, si daddy, tapos yung bata. Tapos, mag-play na lang kasi namatay yung battery. Kasi dapat, before my lecture, there was, di ba, there was supposed to be an engineer who was going to lecture about the digital Babylon. Pero ngayon talaga, most of the play involves gadgets. Sadly, it involves gadgets, which is not very beneficial to children. O sige, may question ako kung may makasagot sa chat. Ano lang to, incidental question. Ilan hours screen time ang allowed for children 0 to 2 years old? O sige, magtignan natin sa chat box, Arnel. Lalabas ba yung chat box? Mababasa mo? Nakamute ka. Let's look at the chat box.
Meron ditong familiar na pangalan, Arjen Arsenal, 30 minutes daw.
30 minutes. O sige, baka may iba pang gustong sumagot.
15 to 20 minutes galing kay Rodney. Meron pang 0.
Ay, sino na sumagot ng 0?
Ang first na sumagot ng 0 ay yung ating special
Sino?
guest, si Hil Abalos.
Wow! Dalawa ng jacket ni Hill. Hindi lang natin alam kaninong Hill mapupunta. Yes, like for children 0 to 2 years old, I'm going to recommend the American Academy of Pediatrics. Zero. Ay. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. It's 0 screen time. Okay, 0. When I say screen time, okay, what does it involve? Cell phone, gadgets, computers, and TV. Okay, a favorite question that parents ask me, Dok, kasama ang TV? Kasama bang TV? Sabi ko, pwede, basta walang screen yung TV nyo, pwede. Ewan ko lang paano gagana yon. Okay, and then from 2 to 5, it's 1 hour. 1 hour. 1 hour total, ha? Kasi minsan ginagawa ng parents, 1 hour TV, 1 hour gadget, 1 hour laptop. That's a total of 1 hour. And then, older than that, it's sinasabing supervised. Dapat supervise yung screen time na that the child can still do the things that are expected of him, that is expected of him developmentally. Pati yung schoolwork niya, yung exercise, nagagawa pa rin. Okay, so now we know, ilan yung screen time pag 0 to 2? Yan na. Remember that. 0. Okay? Sige. Ayan. So, play is so important to optimal child development that it has been recognized by the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. So sa Article 31, nakikita mo talaga, number 1, the right of the child to engage in play and recreational activities. So, what is play? So according to Professor Garvey from Harvard University, play is a range of intrinsically motivated activities done for recreational pleasure and enjoyment. And sabi ni Merriam-Webster, okay, play is recreational activity, especially the spontaneous activity of children. So makikita mo, parang kakambal talaga ng children ang play. O, may papakilala ko mga friends ngayon. So ito, meron akong papakilalang 3 friends na may mga sasabihin about play. So, this man, okay, si Sir David Hockney is a famous contemporary artist in the UK. So sabi niya, people tend to forget that play is serious. Yung next person na papakilala ko, baka mas kilala niyo to. Kasi si David nga, ngayon ko lang siya nakilala. Baka yung mga mas matatanda dyan, baka kilala niyo to. Okay, so he is Mr. Rogers. So Mr. Rogers has had a famous children's show which spanned for over 30 years. So sabi niya, play is often talked about as if it were a serious relief from learning. But for children, play is, inulit na naman niya, is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. So yun talagang trabaho ng mga bata. It is to play. Dagdag pa niya, play gives children a chance to practice what they are learning. They have to play with what they know to be true in order to find out more. And then they can use what they learn in new forms of play. And then yung last person na papakilala ko sa inyo tonight, I'm sure kilala nyo ton lahat. Okay? Pag di nyo kilala, papakilala ko sa inyo. Okay, meron, ayan, si paring Albert. So, si paring Albert Einstein, di ba, he is like a super, super famous genius. Okay? Sabi niya, play is the highest form of research. That's coming from a genius, so that must mean something. So I will also define what is experiential learning. So if you will look at this, this principle was formulated by a psychologist named David Kolb in the 1980s. So this is an experiential learning cycle. So wag na natin pahirapan yung mga sarili natin. Ito lang yung summary ng cycle na yan. Sabi niya, yan si David Kolb yan. Learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. So it's just really learning through experience. So if you relate it to play, itong learning through experience, may nakita kong magandang pinapakita niya how children develop skills through play. And I think this is an application of experiential learning. So first, number 1, baka hindi nyo na masyadong mabasa kasi medyo maliit. Okay, a child is naturally curious. Right? Who can relate to this? Yung mga nanay, di ba? Mga tatay, lahat bubuksan, lahat bubuklatin. Okay, number 2, the child's curiosity drives them through explore through play. Number 3, as a child explores through play, they discover new things and learn. The next, the child finds learning and exploring fun. The next, a child likes to repeat activities that are fun. 6, repeating fun play activities help a child to achieve a mastery of their skills. 7th, a child who is mastering new skills feels confident. Wow, yung play pala nakaka-build ng confidence. And lastly, a confident child feels capable of attempting their next challenge. Ang dami palang, may process pala yung play. Hindi lang pala siya, wala lang, pampalipas oras. Ayan. So if you look at this, there are so many skills that can be developed through play. Social interaction, following rules, goal setting, self-expression, self-confidence, negotiation skills, self-reliance, communication, empathy, problem solving, creativity, and teamwork. And these are just some of the skills that we can develop through play. So I will show you some studies kasi baka sabihin imbento-imbento lang to. Kasi sa medical world, we always want to look for evidence. So ito. So a study shows that kindergarteners' vocabulary was positively related to the amount of time they spent talking during pretend play at age 3. Then, yung isang study through imaginative play. Teka, nahirapan ako. Wait, I'm trying to, there. Through imaginative play, children become more creative, perform better at school, and develop a problem-solving approach to learning. Next. Wait lang, nahirapan ako dito sa placement ng natin, muka. Wait lang. Yan. Tapos, yan. Kids who play with literacy materials, like pretending to read to stuffed animals, have better language abilities in kindergarten. Next is make-believe play is essential for kids to develop a sense of curiosity and learn how to respond to different situations. Evidence shows that active children are more likely to stay active as adults, decreasing the risk of heart disease. Tapos, a study shows that third graders who have 15 minutes of recess a day, meaning they allow them to play in the playground, are better behaved in school than those who have less. So it has been shown that the school setting and even that the school setting helps enhance the children's learning readiness, learning behaviors, and problem-solving skills. We also recommend, to our children who are a bit hyperactive, we recommend that before they start schoolwork, that they engage in at least 30 to 45 minutes of activities or exercise or play a day kasi it helps the child focus and concentrate. who knew that, no? Play is connected to focus and concentration. Kasi sometimes when we would talk to parents and the therapist would talk to parents na part of the therapy is play, parang, bakit ganon? We want the child to learn to be more focused and to concentrate and to do schoolwork. But it is connected, it helps the brain to be able to focus more. So, researchers say free play can significantly improve the kids' problem-solving skills. It also shows, some studies show that make-believe games help kids learn to self-regulate their emotions. Ito, marami na kaming patients nakikita na problema yung self-regulation. They can't control their emotions. Free play and adult-guided play both help preschoolers learn to notice other people's feelings and regulate their own. So sinasabi na for success, hindi lang din hindi lang important yung academics, but pati yung social skills and social interaction ng isang bata. Children as young as 3 learn to understand the real world through realistic pretend play. Studies say that kids with higher levels of fitness score better on standardized tests, especially in math and reading. Sa culture na grabe ang emphasis sa academics, so if you look at the result of this study, dapat grabe din yung emphasis natin sa physical play. Because look at the outcome. And an IBM Institute survey showed CEOs value employees with creativity, which can be fostered through childhood play. Di ba, pangarap ng bawat magulang maganda yung trabaho ng anak? So, ayan, one of the things that companies value. Talking, singing, reading, and playing are the best ways to stimulate a children's brain development. I will show you videos later. Research points to a direct correlation between play and stress reduction. Lalo na ngayon, di ba, nakakulong tayo. Ang tataas ng stress and anxiety levels din ng mga bata at magulang. So it's important that, you spend time playing with your children. So ito, and one of my favorite benefits of play is yung relationship that it builds between the child and the caregiver or the parent. Kasi may back and forth interaction when you play with your child. So, in order for the brain to develop, important yung nurture that comes from the environment. And during childhood, the best way to nurture them is through play. May papakita akong brain. Ayan. Yan yung medyo medical lang na ipapakita ko. So, on the left side, you will see a normal 3-year-old child's brain. And on the right side is, kita nyo, mas maliit yung brain, mas maliit yung ulo, meaning hindi siya masyadong nag-develop because of the child suffered severe environmental sensory deprivation neglect. So makikita mo, mas maliit yung brain. So may effect talaga, may effect sa brain, yung environment ng bata. So one of the ways that you can nurture that environment is through, ulit na naman tayo, play. Okay, so I'm going to show you 2 videos to end my talk kasi meron pang magko-continue nung talk ko about play.
Play is so important for children, and it's not just a flippant thing that they do on the side of their real development. Play is their development. So on one hand, it brings lots of joy and connection to family and to other children and for themselves, which of course is so important. But on top of that, there's a whole lot of other development that's happening. So within their brains, there's all these amazing connections being made neurologically as they're playing. And then physically through their bodies, all the way from the fine motor skills using their hands, but also their gross motor and their physical muscle development and their core strength. And then all of the social and emotional connections that children learn and practice while they're playing with others. So if I was going to describe how the brain develops and how it relates to play, I might start by saying there's all these kind of separate points in the brain, a bit like a night sky. So we've got all these stars all over the brain. And when we experience something, a connection is made between these points. And the more often we experience that thing, the stronger those connections are. And you can see that in the way that children repeat things naturally during play. And that's because developmentally, their brains are making that connection nice and strong. And those connections are made in all sorts of ways. So they're made by learning physical things, as we learn to walk and talk, but also they're made by social and emotional connections. So how we relate to other people and how we relate to love or how we relate to fear, those connections become strong too. And then after about the age of 8, what happens is the tree prunes itself. So the connections that weren't very strong, that we haven't used much in our life so far, those ones start to fall away. And we're left with just the strong branches. And those strong branches become the basis of our adult brain. And the way that relates to play is that play is like fireworks going off in the brain on a sensory level, on a cognitive level, on a physical level. So there's a lot of firing happening in the brain at the same time. So we're getting optimal brain development while children are playing.
O, diba? You get optimal brain development when children are playing. So isipin mo yung sinabi niyang fireworks. Nakita niyo yung inauguration ng US president. Yung kumanta sinong kumanta nun? Si Katy Perry ba? Wait, hindi ako magaling sa music ha. Who sang fireworks? Basta kumanta. So remember that song na parang siyang fireworks na sa brain ng child. Okay, so this is my last video. It's just a minute. It's from the Center for the Developing Child from Harvard University. Sorry, what happened?
When we play, we are at our happiest and we can withstand incredible hardships. When we play, we are engaging in complex interactions with each other and we are building our brains. And when we play, those social interactions become relationships. And we need play to connect all 3 of those together.
Okay, maraming salamat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc Christine. So if you have questions for Doc Christine, kindly type it on our in our chat box, or you might want to comment sa ating Facebook live video. You know what? Doc Christine is not only practicing in the medical field. She herself volunteered as a missionary with Operation Mobilizations, and she also served as a volunteer in Sunday school. And
Yes.
yan. And siya ang paboritong doktor ng anak namin, especially pag wala siyang syringe. Anyway,
Madalas meron.
madalas meron. So,
Yes.
you might be wondering why we are talking about play right now if you're coming in late. This is part of our resource that we want to share with you as we anticipate the coming of one of the projects of Evangelism Explosion. It's called Hope for Kids in a Box, wherein we really utilize play and experiential learning to maximize the experience of our children. So it's in the works, and in the coming few days we will have the field testing, and when summer comes, uh, we will be rolling out. So stay tuned for that. So we have another um, guest with us, and we're so privileged to have her join us tonight. She's a graduate of Bachelor of Science in Speech Language Pathology, and from Cebu Doctors University. She is a speech therapist consultant at Intercare Life Skills Center, and she's a why I'm having a hard time saying this, ha? Kailangan ko siguro ng speech therapy teacher Chin, no? Developmental play practitioner. There you go. Conscious tuloy ako. So, let's welcome from Cebu, uh, Michiko France Yap, or we fondly call her Teacher Chin. Take it away.
Hi, good evening, everybody. So yes, according to Sagisay ni Sir Arnel, my name is Michiko Yap, and to my darling kiddos, I am known as Teacher Chin. I'd like to thank Koan Evangelism Explosion Philippines and Doc Lucy for inviting me to share with you all the importance of play. So I'll share my screen. Okay, hold on, ha. Let me just fix all the buttons. Okay, so tonight I'm going to talk about enhancing learning and playing, learning through play. I have four objectives for us tonight, and I am lifting up everyone's attention spans to the Lord because I will be talking about play and the Bible. So we'll see later on that play is indeed designed by God and is meant to be a source of learning opportunities. I'll talk a little bit about why play matters. Doc Kusi couldn't stress it enough, but since it is the language of childhood, after all, I'll touch on a little bit more kung why play matters. Then I'm going to discuss the profound effects of how the developmental play pyramid changes our whole perspective about stages and not ages. Lastly, I will highlight top tips for positive play and how it greatly contributes to nurturing creative children. Sige, so now I am far from being the expert at play, but I do hope I'll be able to share a few takeaways for all of you here. Without further ado, I'd like to kick off my talk by thanking Singapore's Create Cat Academy and my professor, Miss Caroline Assam, for the mentorship and for allowing me to share what I have learned from my courses there. So, to all the parents, therapists, OT or SLP interns, doctors, aunties, uncles, titas, titos, ahias, and atis watching, you may want to check out their academy online. It's createcat-academy.com. They have super duper great sources and products to really solidify your child's play journey. And it's also not very technical for parents because they also have parent courses. All right, so let's begin with play and the Bible. So Judy Allen says, play is something that we do for the sheer love of the activity. As I was preparing for this talk, I really wanted to tie it up with biblical truths. So though my search results for Bible verses relating to play were only a few, there really are sightings of play dating to Jesus' time, evidenced by Zechariah chapter 8, verse 5. It says, and the streets of the city will be filled with girls and boys playing. So we can say that play is indeed foundational because it teaches us many things. According to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 24 to 26, I'm just going to read a bit. It says, do you not know that those who run in a race all run, but only one receives the prize? Run in such a way that you may win. Everyone who competes in the games exercises self-control in all things. And according to 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 5, it tells us that play or games are an avenue for abiding by the rules. So, self-control and rules. As parents and facilitators of a child's development, what does God tell us to do then? Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6 tells us that we have to direct our child onto the right path so that when they are older, they will not leave from it. That now brings us to the question, what then is the right path? Such a difficult question because really there's no such thing as the perfect parent or the perfect therapist. But by God's grace, we can be good enough parents and good enough therapists. So, one aspect that sets us up to be good enough parents or good enough therapists is the prioritization of our child's development. Because all children have the right to be creative and to play, even the ones who are differently abled. So that is why play matters a lot. A very well acclaimed neurodramatic play therapist, Professor Sue Jennings, highlights that the first 1,000 days of a child's life is extremely critical for lots and lots of play to happen as it impacts childhood in many ways. So, first 1,000 days, where most of us are from Visayas man, no? So, it's basically telling us antusa lang jud ang first 1,000 days, and then your child is set up onto the right path. So as a practicing speech therapist, parents often say children should study. But of course they should study, but actually learning is not just about hearing things from a teacher on a blackboard or worksheet, right? We do it with our whole body. We do it through play and through interacting with other people and the environment. Because when children play, that's the time when they are trying really hard to make sense of their world, according to Doug Goodkin. Carl Jung, a famous psychologist, even said the creation of something new is not accomplished by intellect, but by the play instinct arising from inner necessity. The creative mind plays with the object it loves. So, like, for example, the example of Dokusi, Albert Einstein, his mind palace loved physics. His inner necessity to play and bounce off physics ideas birthed the theory of special and general relativity. So when we view play this way, it changes our outlook into thinking that play is not just merely having fun. It is expanding our mind palace, basing on the things we love in a fun way. Learning, or should I say, playing with objects, develop our thoughts and our engagement with the world. Because play is known to be the highest development in childhood before language occurs. So it is the skills acquired in play that receptive and expressive language skills root on. So receptive language is your ability to understand concepts, while expressive language is your ability to express those concepts in order to communicate your wants and needs. Therefore, before language happens, play is the bridge that lets you understand your child better, because play is an expression of what the child is feeling. So aside from the things I've mentioned, and aside from all the things that Doc Kusi mentioned, play is a good avenue to learn social and emotional skills. Things like cooperation, collaboration, and turn taking are also learned through play. So during my speech classes with my kiddos, there are times when they don't use the same materials that I'm using. And so that changes their output by a tad bit. Their outputs will not look super duper similar to mine. And that shows that shows the child that change is okay and that change is inevitable. Other times, for example, you want to try leaf painting and it turns out your garden is limited to not so nice looking leaves. And so you end up with abstract looking paint on your canvas instead. That's okay too. It teaches the child to embrace spontaneity and allows them to gain a sense of control over the changes. Play is also a wonderful way for the child to problem solve, even if they are playing alone. Because when they, for example, when they pick up an unfamiliar toy and explore it, they begin to find solutions or explore cause and effect relationships. An even more specific example, kay ang wind-up toy. So for example, the child sees the wind-up toy and it's unfamiliar to them. So they pick it up and then they explore it and they find the tiny knob at the back. So they begin to push on the knob, they begin to pull on the knob, and then they begin to twist the knob. So the toy vibrates or the toy moves. And then they set the wind-up toy down and then it moves on the pavement. Now they know what the knob is for. So that's what playing with objects does to facilitate learning sa children, not just screen because there's nothing to explore if it's a screen. So playing with interactive partners also allow the child to acquire facial expressions and body movements through imitation. And then this stimulates the child's imagination. This now brings us to, when does play start? Research has indicated that even a few seconds after a child is born, the baby starts to interact with the mother already. So seeing the mother's awe expression alone is already interaction in and of itself. So that early on is already the start of a playful relationship. So we are merely facilitators of that playful relationship, not the directors. So as facilitators, we should look at how children or how our children use their bodies, because this makes you understand their sensory profile. Like, for example, you see your child constantly wriggling. This gives you a sense that the child needs big body movements. You also have to look at your child. That's number two. This allows you to see where their joy is. So by observing them, you will not end up forcing them into something they don't want to do. Like, for example, your child is eyeing the clay and you make him or her play with a train set instead because you were not being observant enough as to what he or she really wanted to play with. So that's a no-no. We have to follow the child's playful joy too. That's number three. And then parents will ask, and so Teacher Chin, what if the child will get used to getting his way or her way all the time because you always follow his or her lead? Not to worry, because number four, you have to build on from what the child likes first. Then, as facilitators, we facilitate higher learning. Like, for example, the child is looking at the Play-Doh. So you follow the child's joy. You play with the Play-Doh first. After a while, you make food Play-Doh shapes. So maybe you roll really thin pieces of Play-Doh, and that can serve as spaghetti. And then you make other food Play-Doh shapes. And then eventually you introduce a kitchen set or a cooking set, and then you pretend to cook. Now the child is still getting what he or she wants because you're playing with the Play-Doh. And you, as a facilitator, you were able to introduce the different things found in the kitchen and what they are used for. So you're building on higher learning from what the child wanted to play with in the first place. So as facilitators, we should support them, mirror their actions so that they will feel comfortable mirroring our actions in return. Affirm them, so you give lots of specific praises. Sometimes it's better to say, nice stacking of your Legos, rather than just saying, good job. Because in that way, we help strengthen their skills by letting them know what specifically they did well and what specifically are we pleased about. And then when they know you delighted in what they did, this helps them move on to the next developmental stage. This now brings us to the role of the developmental play pyramid. Kindly watch this short video from Create Cat Academy because it's a very, very good graphic about developmental play and learning through play.
Play is the language of childhood. It's what children do naturally. They know instinctively that it's what they need to do to learn and develop. But adults often forget how we played and learned. Developmental play reminds us what it means.
Wrong. Wait lang, let me restart the video. I suddenly pressed my screen. Again. Rewind.
Play is the language of childhood. It's what children do naturally. They know instinctively that it's what they need to do to learn and develop. But adults often forget how we played and learned. Developmental play reminds us what it means to play, how it transforms the way children understand the world, and teaches them the fundamental skills for life. To help adults help children make that journey, the same developmental play pyramid takes children through 4 play stages. Each stage builds on the one before it, creating strong foundations for life. Stage 1 is sensory body play, where a child learns all about their body and how it interacts with the world through its 8 senses. Without this in place, the world can be a strange and confusing place. Stage 1 is also about attachment safety play, where the child needs to feel cared for by adults. They need this solid foundation of love to grow into Stage 2, creative, explorative play. They become little explorers, creating, playing, moving, and learning. They start to get a sense that they can make some impact on the world around them. That usually means making a mess. But don't worry, that's good. Stage 3 is meaning-making play, where they pattern, sequence, and begin to form ideas about how the world works and where they fit into it. So they may stack bricks in a certain way, or line up their soft toys, and knock them all down again just to see what happens. These 3 stages happen before a child can really talk, and they are the foundation of Stage 4, where a child develops the skills of higher play. They have language and imagination, they can follow rules, make friends, and do make-believe play. They have a strong sense of who they are, and they're ready for school and more critical thinking and learning. Sometimes when children find life a struggle, they need to go back to one of these stages to build their foundations a little bit stronger. That's where the developmental play approach can support them, especially for children with challenges. It's an inclusive model for all children. It's never too late to build strong foundations so that children can have the best start in life for the best chance in life.
Okay, so there, that was Miss Caroline Asame's voice. I think she has the most soothing voice ever. And as mentioned in the video, we are to internalize stages and not ages. Of course, we have to look at the child's chronological age too, but we can't force a skill on a child just because we're expecting this skill to be present at this certain age. We have to, again, facilitate the development of that skill. So, as parents and therapists, we shouldn't put that pressure on ourselves into thinking that developmental milestones happen in just one particular trajectory. Although their development is indeed incremental, often certain skills develop in a certain stage rather than in an age. So, here are top tips to help you facilitate your child's positive play. Number 1, it's very, very important to not be critical to a child. Even adults, right? We don't like to be friends with someone who is constantly policing them. If the child is not happy doing something, you just give them time, you lure them in, and then you encourage them, but you never force them. Forcing a child makes them feel a loss of control over their environment, and that can be scary for them. It is important for the child's actions to take on meaning for them. It might not have meaning for us. It might just look like repetitive rocking movements to us, but for them, it does have meaning. And if we meet them at that level, we can help them journey to the next level. But if we're showing them that what they're doing is wrong and what they're doing does not have meaning, then we're not building their confidence. Second, it's also important to create a safe space for the child. They need to know where their boundaries are. We don't just give them free reign of creative chaos because if we just give them free reign over creative chaos, they won't feel safe and they won't explore too. So, for example, when they're making a mess is good. But you have to make it clear to them that they'll also have to be the ones to clear up after or to clean up after. Those are clear rules and clear expectations. If they feel that we don't really mind what they're doing, they're not going to feel so confident and explorative because why? Mommy and daddy is not looking at me. Mommy and daddy is not paying attention to me. So might as well not do anything. Next, You also have to think about time. When you also have to think about when your child is highly aroused, because that's the best time to learn and absorb from the environment, or when your child is overly sensitive, like nap time. That's the time to expect lots of whining when you try to enhance their learning through play. So if your child is bursting with energy, you may want to have intensive, meaningful engagement with them. On the other hand, if your child is slow to warm up, in that case, you may need to allot more time for them to warm up to the activity by luring them and encouraging them more. Visual schedules also help a lot because these help children organize their thoughts and work out what's going to happen next. Especially for children who are so inquisitive, they find it scary when they don't know what's going to happen next. So you may have kids who love surprises, but at the same time also want to know more about the surprise. I can relate to this because I am like this. I love surprises, but I also want to know the details of the surprise. So you don't keep them in the dark, parents, because that will serve as loss of control for them also if you keep them in the dark too much. But you don't spoil the surprise too, because that's limiting, or that's not facilitating their delayed gratification. So you at least hype them up with little details of the surprise instead. Maybe you can say, "Ooh, your cake's looking nice." Stuff like that, just to hype them up. Next, we have rituals. I find rituals very, very helpful because it helps kids know when learning time starts and when learning time ends. So, some therapists, some of my interns are here. Um, we really do this in our practice. We like to start sessions with the papam song, with the papam hello song, and end the sessions with the papam goodbye song. By doing this, you create a rhythm that gives structure, and even children who are differently abled will soon pick up a clear structure from it. So rituals don't have to be language based as long as they are consistently present within your play interaction, so that your child will learn when to move in and out of the activities. So the key takeaway here is that predictable structures, particularly for children in the autism spectrum, are really, really important. So just like a good story, right? Sessions should have a clear beginning, a middle, and an end. So you start your session with a warm up or a hello song and a welcome song. And then you may want to set up some rules to set expectations for class. Then when you come towards the end of the session, the child needs to come out of the activity as well. So clearing away or packing away helps them remove themselves from that activity. Of course, as facilitators, we also have to introspect. So we have to reflect on what we want to teach our child and how to go about it so that your learning through play is more structured. There. So by implementing these positive play during your interactions with your child, you're nurturing them to be creative children. How else can we nurture creative children then? We are going to encourage lots of messy play when they are young. So I love using flour, water, and paint. Of course, this is also the time when you do messy play, you really have to consider non-toxic materials. So the facilitator really has to be the ones to adjust good when the child is still going through messy play, because for example the child is painting, and then right when the child is still young, everything goes in the mouth, so you can't have paint go in their mouth. Maybe you can use food coloring instead of clay or play-doh. You can use flour and water. And if you're the neat kind of parent, you can let the child use shaving cream because it doesn't stain. And also shaving cream is also very, very soothing sa hands. It lets the child explore different kinds of touches. Being messy also teaches children to see adults they trust in a silly and colorful way. That also tells them that it's okay to let loose once in a while. It also teaches children to be risk takers and helps them be adaptable. Because, for example, they make a mess and then they get to clean up after the mess. So at least now they know mess is okay. I can always clean up after it. I can always control the mess. So just as importantly, washing up together afterwards or cleaning up together helps them learn responsibility. Playing hide and seek is so simple to us adults, no? But a child's delight can go way beyond most adults' stamina. This helps children deal with anticipation and high arousal. They also learn patience and perseverance to really search for what's hidden this way. They will not give up right away. These are all good skills for developing a creative mind. Another another tip for nurturing creative children is singing and dancing, because singing and dancing are actions that allow your child to feel their body in space and feel good about their bodies. This will build confidence in expressing themselves and in risk taking. This then will develop flexibility and the ability to respond to different things despite the anxiousness or their nervousness. Playing music together will also encourage creative responses and exploration of the environment. So they will start to see potential for expression in everyday things through other means than just listening and talking. Now they can internalize that they can express themselves through music. Here, by making crayons and other arts and craft materials readily available, you're allowing your child to express themselves visually whenever they feel inspired. This is also a good way to distract them from drawing on surfaces like walls or cabinets. So it's up to you, parents or facilitators. You can scribble, you can tear paper, cut. As long as you don't expect Van Gogh level works of art, you're allowing them to experiment, and it tells your child that you value their artistic expression in any form. That in turn builds on their confidence, and we all know that confidence is very, very important for building friendships. Next, nature has a very profound I can effect for children. So, getting children to look at flowers and watching birds or insects allows them the chance to be inquisitive about the cycle of life. So, to the plantitos and plantitas, when you plant with your child and you let them observe how a seed grows, that teaches them patience and the importance of waiting, because sometimes they will think nothing is happening because they can't really see what's under the soil, diba? And then eventually they start to see the, for example, if you're using unsa ni, mongo seed, so they start to see the sprout, and then they know, it's okay. I just have to wait a couple of days. Waiting is okay. Simple activities also that explore nature will help them take risks and lessen the fear of bugs and dirt. So I am guilty of this. Maybe I wasn't exposed to that much nature when I was a child because I'm so scared of anything that crawls. If there's a spider on my screen, I will leave you all. So moving on, doing fun projects together also allow for more problem solving action. So, for example, you're baking or you're doing puzzles, shared problem solving will model creative thinking and help them understand teamwork and how enriching collaborating with others can be. This will also teach them that two people can have better ideas than one. Then, by playing dress up, you are incorporating role play into your engagement with your child. This is a good activity to build on perspective taking by letting your child take on a different character. Then, when you encourage performances and when you support any show that they want to put on for you, this builds on their confidence, which consequently build on presentation skills for later life. Public speaking is one of the most common phobias, diba, especially for kids. And encouraging performances really help with that. It's well enough that they overcome public speaking phobias early on, good. Then reading and watching shows together and then talking about them afterwards exposes your child to a range of experiences that will build on visual memory, ideas for story retelling, and understanding metaphors. So, katong gi-share ni Doc Kusi a while ago na monitored screen time or supervised screen time, this is one way So while you're watching, you stimulate the child's language, you talk about what they're seeing on the screen, or you talk about the show afterwards. After all of these tips, still all the same, COVID is really dampening our children's playful energy. They can no longer interact with peers, and then social distancing has not made emotional processing for our children easy at all. So if kita as adults we're anxious about our careers, so many Gil Abalos. Okay. So if kita, worried about my train of thought, no, medyo naputol. If kita, we are anxious about our budget, sila sad, they're also anxious about the uncertainties kung when they will interact with friends or when they'll be able to go back to school again. And right during these uncertain times, children need to be the directors or really the controllers of the play to enhance feelings of control over their uncertain world. And then as we go back to the Bible, Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22 says, "A joyful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." How then can we facilitate a joyful heart and a happy brain for our children? We stay at home and play at home. Because when we play to heal, right? When we're happy, so many hormones are released, and then that's already healing for our children. These are some of the activities I have applied during my teletherapy sessions, and it really brought back the joys of my kiddos. So using flour, I mentioned this earlier, using flour, water, and food coloring, you can make Play-Doh. And making Play-Doh is a great way for your child to make something they can use and then play with afterwards. It introduces the joys of mixing, sequencing, and 3D play. It allows them to tolerate different sensations on their hands, and this develops fine motor skills and dexterity, and it also promotes focus and joint attention. Here, string painting. By preparing palettes or plates of paint and trailing strings, or if you want to be creative, you can use spaghetti pasta. You can use spaghetti pasta, and then you dip sa paint, and then you trail it across your paper or your canvas. String painting is a really good activity to develop some of the skills that underpin writing because it explores motor control, hand-eye coordination, and visual tracking. Here, indoor circuits. Indoor circuits are a great way to use up all of your child's excess energy. So this teaches your child organization, balance, sequencing, self-control, dexterity, and coordination. Furthermore, it teaches them gross motor skills, visual planning, and focus and joint attention. I just did this recently, this whole week. We've been doing melting of ice or ice painting. That's why my hands are stained. So ice painting is a great activity to teach qualitative concepts as it incorporates concepts such as hard versus soft, hot versus cold, slippery versus non-slippery. So this last video that I'm going to show you are from my developmental play speech teletherapy sessions, all with consent to display. And these clips shows us that when children are met at their stage, not age, when their joy is prioritized, and when their confidence is being built, not forced, we are more than capable of facilitating our child's learning through play. Very good blowing. Come on, blow some more, please. Wow, look, Rafa, the ice is melting. Blow some more, come on. How does it feel, Rafa? Feels cold?
Feel cold? Yes.
I'm happy you're touching the ice. What happened to your hands? Nice showing. Your hands are clean. Teacher Chin's hands are stained. Teacher Chin's hands are blue, but it's okay, right? We embrace the mess, right? Okay, can you pack away, Rafa? You get your tray? You put it aside, please. Put in the container. Pack away, pack away.
Eh.
Wow, very good job packing away, Rafa.
Ah.
Wow, so nice. Oh, it's upside down. Turn it around. See? There. Put it there where there's a lot of cream. There, and then there also, there's a lot of cream.
And then as you move all the other ice cubes around, it makes other colors. Look, oh, mine is turning purple, green, and blue. Look. Very nice colors, Lee. Ta-da! What colors can you see over there?
My hand is getting it this.
My hands too, look. But it's okay. Embrace the mess.
It's okay. You can wipe it later. Wow, what are the colors?
No.
Straw, please.
Get one straw. Put it inside the bottle. There. Careful.
Oopsie.
Go.
You can do it, Borgie.
Go.
It's okay.
There, and then jump.
Okay. Jump to the next bottle. Wow, very good. Okay. Put one, Borgie, using your right hand.
Get the straw.
There. So you see the parents patiently waiting, just being encouraging to their kids. The parents are commenting and giving lots of specific praises. Then you see the child respond and not be aversive to the activity. So that was learning through play. All done. Thank you so much for listening. And I thank you for your intentionality for attending in order to give your kiddos the best start in life for the best chance in life. Enjoy the rest of your evening, everybody. God bless and stay safe.
Thank you, Teacher Chin. Wow, that's so a wonderful talk, and it's so full packed. And I even got a message here from one of our field coordinators of Evangelism Explosion. They are so uh, hyped up right now listening to Teacher Chin's talk.
Aww.
Kasi marami tong anak eh. Siguro hindi nito naglaro sa anak niya eh.
Hindi ako yan ha, hindi ako. Thank you for the message.
Okay. Well, my audio is kind of okay. I'm just fixing a little bit of something here. Okay. Um, if you have questions, you can send it in our chat box, and I would like to direct this first question to Teacher Chin. And maybe some of this, maybe it's partly answered already. The question was, may indoor games ba na i-recommend kayo for the pandemic? I think, what the last part of what you've shared answer this one. Uh, of course, as I've mentioned earlier, all of these things are taken into consideration in the development of our Hope for Kids in a Box project. And our material is interactive, relational, and of course, we have incorporated experiential learning through developmental play. And that's so helpful for parents, facilitators, and caregivers, and especially mga Sunday school teachers natin na andito ngayong gabi. Okay, this is kind of technical. I don't know if Doc Kusi is still here. Doc, nandyan ka pa ba?
Yeah, hindi na ako magpapakita. Nakahiga ako.
Okay, sige.
Yeah, but I'm still here.
Okay, Doc. Thank you for hanging in
Okay.
there. Appreciate the
And yes, and congratulations to Teacher Chin. I'm so proud of you. I kinda medyo out of her comfort zone to, and alam kong busy siya.
yes, yes,
Thank you,
appreciate
Doc.
that, Teacher Chin. Okay, here's the question. How do we or share the concept of developmental play to financially or economically challenged children? Of course, I think this is coming from, like, where we're also ministering to children with not much access to the things that we've talked about. So, how do we translate or share this concept to them? Who would like to answer first?
I'll just say a little bit. But I think na-discuss na ni Teacher Chin, if you look at the activities of the Teacher Chin suggested they didn't really require expensive things. Di ba parang you go out and play hide and seek, Crayola, magkano lang ba yung Crayola?
Mhm.
So, I think it's kayang-kayang gawin ng kahit anong economic level nung family.
Mhm.
Right, right, right. Want to say
Yeah.
something, Teacher Chin?
The activities that I shared were just very very taphaw, but there's so many other things that you can do with your child. You can build pillow forts, you can do water play, making a special box, you decorate something, baking, random art making. So just paint and then paper, and then you have hand printing activities. That's already a lot of learning through play.
Right, right, right. Um,
Yeah, so it's Arnel, parang siya, 'di ba? May nabasa ko na the more the toy does, the less the child thinks daw.
okay.
So, parang
Yeah.
yung 'di ba yung imagination nila hindi din masyadong nafo-foster kasi ay the toy is doing everything. But if it's a simple thing, 'di ba, the child can imagine more.
Exactly.
So hindi kailangan mahal.
Yes. So, yeah, uh, I was sharing with my daughter that when we were young, we were playing with old tires and uh,
Hmm.
bottle caps, and she told me, "Papa, that's
Mm.
junk." Kids nowadays, now Generation Alpha.
Yeah.
So, here's a question from someone na I guess marami itong children, okay? Here's the question. Is the dynamic of each activity ay the same for all ages ng kids? Like, I have 7, 5, 3, and 1, or separate daw each child?
Doc, you wanna answer or
Hindi, you can play with each child separate individually, and then maganda din na may group play. Pero kasi we also have to understand na may different may different may different levels of play. May developmental pattern din yung play na at 1 year old, it's more of solitary play. At 2, it's parallel play. Yung parang magkatabi lang sila and then they play with different things. And then at 3, it's cooperative play. So maybe you can also involve the older kids to play with the younger kids. But taking into consideration na iba-iba yung ways that they play at different ages.
Mhm.
That- That's very insightful, Doc. Want to say something, Teacher Chin?
A lot similar to what Doc Pusi said. Same sa developmental play pyramid, right? So, aside from the different types of play, you also have to consider if they're still very sensory. So you have to do sensory play. But if they're older, usually they've already developed concepts of characters or concepts of role playing. So more on role playing, mga pretend play, like that. Again, I highlight Create Cat. There's so many sources there for parents, very not technical sources, good. So you can check out their academy.
Great, great, great. I promised Doc Kusi na top 3 questions lang. So, this is the last question, Doc.
Sorry, masakit yung tiyan ko.
This is very relevant, especially ngayong pandemic. As we know, some of the kids are left with grandparents, no? Sa bahay. So, are there activities for the child na kaya ng grandparents? Yan.
Wait, tignan mo yung mga examples. Kahit yung examples Teacher Chin, hindi naman talaga siya, back-breaking activities.
Right.
Yeah. The story time or the reading time, very good to be done with the grandparents.
Somebody whispered beside me, asking me to buy shaving cream daw.
Go.
She can start with that.
Oh, very, very good.
Hi, Joey.
Bakit kakailangan mo
Okay, thank you very much. I will let Doc Kusi go now. And as we wrap up things here, thank you so much to Doc Kusi and to Teacher Chin. We all appreciate your input, and I know we are more equipped now to be intentional about discipling our children and using our time to intentionally play with them. Okay, so let me just close here with some thoughts on Jesus creative learning techniques. Okay, uh, si Jesus he has a lot of creative learning techniques. And he was a very creative teacher, and he focused both on the message and how to communicate it. No, so we have to take this into consideration, lalong-lalo na pag um, what we're encouraging right now is that it is a parent-led discipleship, like what Pastor Nono shared with us last Saturday. We need to be very intentional about this, but at the same time, um, discipling our children requires a lot of creativity, and as we've learned today from Doc Kusi and Teacher Chin, play is part of it. And in Hope for Kids in a Box, we even have a session there wherein very first session we have is just playing with our kids. And while they're playing, they're memorizing scriptures. Okay, so that's how we do it. So just like Jesus, he focused not only on the message, but also on the way of communicating it. So uh, I want you to get your other gadget right now, like your cell phone. You can scan the QR code uh, or go to this site, paulf.com/our Arsenal 111.
Whoa!
We have a question right there. Okay, so did you copy the site, the website already? Go to paulf.com/our Arsenal 111. I'm gonna stop this share screen, and then I'm just gonna activate our poll. Okay. Okay, we have a question here. Is anybody in our poll now? Okay. Answers are coming in. Child, fish, food, bread. So what objects did Jesus, I'm sorry for the typo, did Jesus use in his teaching to help his disciples or the crowds to learn a lesson? Bread and fish, they are coming in louder. uh, so these are things available in the house during this pandemic. At least may bread and fish tayo. Keep your answers coming. Air, uh, fields, lilies. What objects did Jesus use in his teaching to help his disciples or the crowds learn a lesson? Yan. Water. Okay, we'll have about 30 seconds more. Number one ang bread. Malamang itong mga umaten na nag-answer ng bread, hindi pa naghahapunan. Pati fish. Great, great, great. Lamb, seed tree, mustard, storm. Jesus even used the storm, no? Um, uh, food, stone, air. Thank you for your responses. That's great. That's great. Let's proceed to the next question. Same link that was sent to you. Name as many of the places where Jesus did his teachings as you can. Galilee. Many places, huh? As many places where Jesus taught. Not only yung mga particular names ng places or yes, he taught in a house, taught in the mountain, in the seashore, on a boat, in the temple. Let's have 30 seconds more for this. Keep it coming. Yan. Basically, everywhere Jesus went, he used it as opportunities to teach, right? So this is this should be a good reason for us, even during this pandemic, to be intentional about teaching our children. And teaching is not just passing on information. No? As we've noticed from and learned from our two experts tonight, no, it's really a transfer of life, right? Even from the very first moment that a child sees the expression in the face of his or her mother, it's already a learning experience para sa mga bata. So, thank you for your responses. Thank you for your responses. Let me just go back to my uh, share screen, and then these are some of the thoughts I want to live as our reflection tonight from the talk, the couple of talk from our couple of speakers tonight. If Jesus used very active discipling methods, are there ways we can apply this to how we disciple our children? And we noticed from the talks of Doc Kusi and Teacher Chin that can be part of active discipling, di ba? So, because there, when you play with the children, they are vulnerable, they learn to follow rules, and then you nurture relationship. Again, sabi ni kanina, napulot ko sa sabi ni Teacher Chin, when you play, you build confidence. And confidence is a very important element for friendship. So, magandang question yan sa atin mga parents. No? Are we friends with our children? Kasi baka mga general tayo or mga ano tayo, no? Mga police lang ang pagtingin nila sa atin, no? So, let's reflect on these questions. Where and when do you find teachable moments with your children? So, teachable moments are, moments wherein, like when you play. Like for example, let me take an example from Teacher Chin's talk, about messy play, di ba? That can be a teachable moment. When they made a mess, it's okay to make a mess for as long as you keep your mess, right? So, um, these are teachable moments. Think about how you can use your daily experiences with your children to uh, make these moments wherein they are more receptive to our teaching. Are they more receptive pag pinapagalitan natin sila? uh, are we more of doing lectures to them? Or uh, are we showing them the way? What types of activities do they respond most to? So we should be thinking about this, parents, caregivers, children's ministers, pastors. No? Um, these are very helpful questions to ask ourselves, even as we think about how we can be more effective in dealing with our children. Again, we are so grateful to our guests. Um, Literally, they went out of their comfort zone. No? Doc Kusi is not feeling well, and Teacher Chin, as Doc Kusi mentioned, this is not her cup of tea, but she really did a great job, and I'm particularly blessed of how she presented it. Um, and I know as mga parents and mga caregivers, no, this is really helpful for us. So let me express our gratitude to our guests tonight, and let me invite you to another webinar this coming Saturday. Uh, it we are giving more time also for this one because we know this is really helpful, and another talk on uh, uh, navigating the digital Babylon. Uh, Sabi kanina dapat monitored ang screen time. But during this time of pandemic wherein our children had to do online studies, gadgets are inevitable. No, di talaga maiwasan. But how do we navigate in this digital Babylon? With our children who are very, uh, our children have very high technological IQ, we really need also as parents to be well equipped and well informed on how to deal with this, no? Maraming parents, no, pag nagkakasakit ang anak, di ba? Ang ang linya, ang litanya ng parents ngayon, ayan, saka computer mo kasi yan, di ba? Ano na lang, no? Lahat na lang sa computer. Eh, lahat ng bata ngayon nasa computer dahil sa pag-aaral nila. But how do we navigate it? We have a tech startup CEO who will share with us next week. So we're inviting everyone to come, and we really appreciate your patience and your intentionality of attending our webinar. For those of us who are tuned in sa ating Facebook Live, thank you, thank you. We even have um, friends who are from Jakarta, Indonesia, who are tuned in uh, uh, tonight, and we have somebody here from Japan who's who's attending the webinar. And so we really appreciate your presence tonight. So, with that said, let me express again my heartfelt gratitude in behalf of Evangelism Explosion Philippines Hope for Kids in a Box project to our guests for sharing their expertise. Um, the Lord bless you and bless the works of your hands. Marami pang bata ma-bless din sa inyong ministry to them, especially during this time of pandemic. So, again, thank you, everyone. Let me just close us in a word of prayer. Lord, thank you for the insights and the helpful tips that you've shared with us tonight with our guests. May we be more intentional about spending time with our children and to understand where they are coming from and to be better guides for them, oh God. Especially, Lord, in building blocks for their faith, oh God, um, that they will come to the saving knowledge of the Lord Jesus Christ as we model your love to them, oh God. May you fill us to overflowing of your love and compassion, oh God. It's not easy being a parent or a caregiver, especially now during these times of isolation. Pray, Lord, that you cause us, oh God, to uh, uh, be mindful of your presence always, that they are entrusted to us, no matter how difficult times are. We know, Lord, that uh, your grace is sufficient and that your power is made perfect in our weakness, oh God. We confess that we are not perfect parents. You are the only one who's perfect, oh God. But we thank you that you will enable us, oh Lord. Again, we are grateful for the ministry of our guests tonight, Lord. Pray, Lord, for your healing touch for Doc Christine, even right now, Lord. Thank you for your time, and also help Teacher Chin in helping the children cope up with this pandemic as well, oh God. And during these times of isolation, Lord. Thank you so much, oh God. Continue to protect all of us from harms and dangers and from sickness. Prepare our hearts even for worship tomorrow, oh God. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much for your time. We uh, went overboard for 4 minutes. I hope you did not mind that. See you next Saturday. See you next Saturday. Thank you for your time.
You don't forget picture.
Oh,
Bye.
can you turn on your uh, video so we can just have a
Wait,
Here.
wait, there's someone stopping. There's someone.
paki-screenshot na lang, love, please. By the way, this is